Welcome to the channel. Let's get right into it. First off, we're going to start off with our light sketch lines. So now what the sketch lines are for, they're for the placement. And so you can get the figure how you want it to, or at least the idea. So it consists of basic shapes, right? The next thing you're going to go to is our construction lines. Now these construction lines, you pretty much putting together from your sketch lines where you want it. Now, the sketch lines may have been a little bit bigger, but you have a whole area in which you want to work. With your construction line, you want to start putting in lines like the eye socket, the jaw line, or the jawbone. You're going to get in. So you may have some little fine lines that you want to put in there, and that's fine if you want to go ahead and do that in this part of the process. But for me, with these construction lines, just pretty much constructing everything where I wanted to go, the placement, pretty much getting the teeth in there, get the jaw, the lower jaw, the back, the molar teeth in there. And then it's the cavity right here. Get the cavity so where the nose goes. So if you look at your reference, and I should have put the reference up, but we do that another time. You get the reference, get all these different areas, and this is the construction line. So again, if you get in your construction line, you don't have to be too dead end on it. But what I do with my construction line, I add as many construction lines or lines as possible. It helps in the long run. All right, so from the construction line, go to the shading. Now with the shading, I just did a light shading, real light. That's just so I can have a foundation of my shading. Because what I do is the process of building up each different area. Some areas are darker than others. Some areas don't have much shade, but you can always tell. But again, like I said, with this, the shading of the skull, I put it all in one light, light shade and tone, right? So I could be able to build up from it. Know which areas to add a darker shade and a darker level to add depth into it to give it that realistic dimension. All right, so now we go get into the contour lines. So, and more shading. So with these lines, you want to make it dark so you can get and know exactly where you at. This is how I do it. So I make these areas darker so I can have that separation. So when I go in and I add the shading and these detailings to it, I don't get thrown off or I don't get blended in too much. So when you have them, these darker areas, it helps me so I can separate each and area differently. I want them all to stand out within their own accord, right? All right, so you go in, you add some light shade, and I'm blending as I do it. That way, I can see the process and I can see the skull shape itself out slowly but for surely. You want to get some deeper shading, right? And detailing. So as I'm working, I'm adding some darker shadow points, some darker shading points. This is helping to pull the different areas so you can actually see. So if you see with that upper cavity right there on the snout, you can see that is an area that light is not touching, which is work. So you work that, get the shadow and some shading down in the teeth and make them pop out more. You don't want to shade it all one tone, because if you shade it one tone, then it still stay looking flat, just like the paper. So I'm gonna use different tones, different shading, so you could give it all that dimension, give it some three-dimensional element to it, right? So you get that element, which also helps the realisticness, like, and it's not just realistic because it's black and white. It's realistic because you have different levels, different tones, different shadings that help to do that push and pull. Work into the jaw. If you have an eraser, I recommend getting an electric eraser because that spin, that torque that it has, it helps to give it a different level of erasing outside of using, the standard eraser or using the manpower. So I recommend you getting the electric eraser. You see on the table, you see all the tools that I use, right? Yeah, so we getting it in. Again, like if this is the long version, it'd be very tedious, which art can be tedious. And with me, I like to keep on touching on certain areas just to get it how I want it to look. With art, it's not about particularly if you go on realistic, it's about how you want it to look, right? You want your end results to be your satisfactory because art is very subjective. So where something I may be like, oh man, I don't like that. Other people may come and see like, man, I love how that look. I continuously challenge myself each and every drawing, each and every day. I challenge myself. So the goal is for me to get better. You got to remember, This is what I like to live by. Practice make progress. Though a lot of people say practice make perfect, I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to be progress. I want it to consistently make progress in all that I do. So keep that philosophy, practice make progress. You will always be able to achieve a goal and constantly go. If it was perfect and I did things perfectly, I wouldn't want to do it no more because there's no challenge in being perfect, right? But there is a challenge in making progress. Which each level of making progress, let's say you start beginning, make a circle, right? That's your progress. You start a circle, you start building up shade, you make progress. Let me stop yapping. So with the eye socket, there's different elements into it. You don't want to just make it one dark, bold blackness, right? You want to make different levels of tone, different levels of shade, and that brings it out. And make it look more dimension, make it look like you could actually stick your finger into it and it continue to go. Just like it'd be an actual real skull, right? With different shadows, different layers. You want to keep constantly building up. And if you see an area where you have to work on that area 10, 15, 20 times, do it, right? You want to keep on doing whatever it is you need to do as an artist. So me, there's areas, like I said, there's areas that I tend to work on more than others. Now, if you see it, you see this head is slowly coming out. You jump. I got the hair laid out up in there. Now I'm working on the body because I didn't want the skull to just look like a floating skull. So I started working on the body, adding the shade again, adding a lighter layer. And this I kind of just rush. It's not the focal point of this particular picture. The skull is, but I want the skull to pop out, so I still have to make the different levels of shade and different levels of depth. You see this? So, and you touch on the type of pencils I use. So I use charcoal pencils because graphite leaves like a little reflection, and I don't like that. It's definitely when taking pictures or recording a video, you see this little reflection in it. Excuse me, I can't talk right now. So I use charcoal, and it also blends way better than graphite, in my opinion. Right? So get these, and they come in three different levels. So you have hard, medium, soft. Now, hard is typically used to do something like your sketch lines because can't see it. It's not really visible. It's real light. And I know it's probably backwards. You would think where the soft is lighter, that's not how it goes. So with the hard is more compacted than medium, not as compacted, but it's fair. And now with the soft, that's like real bold. So that's what you use to get the even more depth, right? So again, back to the horse. So we getting into it, and you see the different separation. So I have it dark just behind the skull head. That way it pops out more, all right? And then the body is a little bit darker. So now, and this is the final process, the final project, the final result. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe, like, comment, turn your notification on. Appreciate you coming through.